Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for the participation in ICADES 2026. My name is Iqbal Fadil as your moderator in this session. I will let you know about the rules now. I will retell about this one. First, please prepare your username by renaming your username with the following format: with room number underscore the paper ID underscore the full name. And then please use the background, and you can download the background through the URL. And then each presenter you will have 10 minutes, and then you will have Q&A for 5 minutes, and then we will let you know when you have 2 minutes remaining, and then it will be on the chat, and then the verbal queue when the time is up. After that, please turn on your camera and the mic while presenting, and then please mute your microphone where you're not speaking. Because we already ready with the session, yeah, I will give the first session. Okay, please wait. Okay, I will let the first session with Miss Ainaira Dianisa with identifying innovation directions in event management system through bibliometric analysis. Do you want to present by yourself, or do you want to let us present for the file?
By myself, by myself, Pak.
Okay, you can share your screen.
Thank you.
Okay, the time is 10 minutes, starting you presenting your presentation. So the room is yours.
Good afternoon. My name is Ainaira Dianisa Santoso from Department of Information System, Telkom University, Jakarta, Indonesia. Today, I will present our research with the title Identifying Innovation Directions in Web-Based Event Management System through Bibliometric Analysis. In this first slide, this is the evolution of web-based event management information system. The problem has coming from registration queue and manual task management. So in this research, we want to integrate evolution of the registration online and tax management, and the output is website event management system. And the content list first introduction, state of the art, method, results, and discussion, and let's conclusion. Introduction. Rapid attachment in information technology have significantly transformed organization practice, particularly within the creative industry. In Indonesia, this shift is reflect project growth of internet user to 212 million by 2025, indicating strong digital red lines. State of the art are bibliometric analysis. Bibliometric analysis studies on digital transformation. Bibliometrics method highlight how enterprise integrate technology to enhance collaboration, productivity, and information exchange. B. Expert judgment analysis. The evaluation process brings the conceptual rigor of the proposed framework and provides a more reliable foundation for identifying future research direction and technological innovation opportunities in web-based event management information system. See, event organizer industry. Over the past 5 years, the event organizer industry has undergone rapid digital information driven by demand for efficiency, coordination, and improved service quality. Methods. We have three steps for methods. The first step is planning. The second is data collection, and the last data analysis. In the planning stage, we define the search with the keywords, Boolean or approach to capture variation in terminology, web-based event management system, or digital transformation or innovation trends. And the second step is data collection. Bibliometric data will collect using published or perished with Google Scholar as the primary data source. And second, the search process apply predefined keywords related to web-based event management, digital transformation, and innovation trends. The initial stage generated 998 relevant articles identified through titles, abstract, and author keywords. The dataset was the filter based on publication years 2022 until 2025. The filtering results demonstrate publication trends from 2022 to 2025 with the highest number of publication record in 2024 with 390 publications. And this process improved the transparency and robustness of the bibliometric dataset. And the last step is data analysis from 998 dataset from published or Paris and dataset from Google Scholar. We visualization of thematic cluster at FOSS-Viewer. Results and discussion. This is the descriptive statistics and publication trends. On the visualization graphic, most science publication 2024 with the highest publication 319. And the pie chart, this is the visualization of distribution most science publication, the 2025 with 8 articles. This is the thematic cluster from FOSS-Viewer. We have 5 clusters. The first cluster is transformation and event management. Two cluster, green cluster, it is security and incident management. 3 yellow cluster, education and future trend. 4 blue cluster, current trend and integration. 5 cyan cluster, healthcare and digital health. The cooperance of high frequency keyword. This is the 2 visualization of the graphic from cooperance trends. The first graphic is show 84 keywords, and to graphic is 20 keyword. High frequency keywords were selected to map the trajectory of this system. Here is 84 keywords we refined through expert validation, returning only 20 terms that effectively capture core research depth while eliminating generic or redundant entrants. And the E, this is the group classification of relevant keywords. On the table, for example, this is the group C1 until C5, how I explained visualization cluster. Main keyword, for example, C1, main keyword transformation, then auto digital transformation, domain information technology, classification strategic digital transformation. This is the figure of the thematic. This framework suggests that effective web-based event management system requires the integration of strategic, technical, institutional, managerial, and innovative aspects to support a secure, intelligent, and sustainable digital event ecosystem. And the last, this is the expert judgment analysis and the validation. The expert validation involves 2 individuals with extensive knowledge of information system. The first expert is an academic who focus on information system, particularly digitalization and web-based website development. And the second expert is the CEO of an event management firm with experience in managing digital events. Conclusion. The first conclusion is the study concludes that the research landscape of web-based event management developed between 2022 and 2025. And this study identified 5 core thematic cluster, how I explained 5 cluster on a figure, C1 until C5. And the last, the thematic cluster, we have 3 paths. In the short time, path 1 until 3 years, the main focus is on digitalization, cloud infrastructure, and operational integration. And the medium path 3 until 5 years, priority is given to security management and FX technology. And the long path 5 until 10 years, flexible connect the digital event ecosystem support by artificial intelligence is expected to emerge. Thank you very much for your attention. I will now hand the mic back to the moderator to lead discussion session.
Okay, thank you so much for the insightful presentation. So, Miss Ainaira, you can we will have a question after this for the Q&A session. So for the participant, if you have any question, please raise your hand and you can give the question through the open mic. Okay, so I will initiate the Q&A session by giving the first question to Miss Ainaira. So the first one is it's about it's about the primary data source. Why did you choose the Google Scholar for the primary data source?
Because Google Scholar was selected, provides broader coverage to publication, a single editing, so publish operates this facility efficient citation retrieval and bibliometric data extraction.
I see. So basically, because the Google have the most data compared to another sources, so you choose the Google Scholar, right? Okay. So for the next question, for participants, if you have any question, please raise your hand. Okay, I guess I will give the second question too. So would you like to share a bit about the challenges that you discover during the research?
My challenging on the research is just 25 mass publication because in the Google Publish or Paris we have 998, but I got it down because we use spreadsheet Google for and other author to have filtering by years and topic. So we have 25 journal.
I see. Yeah, basically the filtering is not something easy, right, to do because it's not something very automatically, but you have to decide which one is the most aligned with your research. Okay, so for the third question, if there's any question from the participant, you can raise your hand. Okay, I guess I will give the last question too. So the last question is about the data. So I saw that your presentation, in your presentation that you mentioned your data is from 2022 until 2025. So would you like to share why did you choose 3 years for this?
Why I did choose 3 years?
Yes. Yeah, that's why it is 3 years, not 5. Maybe you have a consideration for that one. Or if it is maybe the result of the filter is okay. So maybe it's just the result. Okay. Uh, okay, Miss Ainaira, do you disconnect? Are you disconnected?
Can I have time to answer?
Oh, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, take your time. It's okay. Okay, we still have 1 minute for the last question.
Because the 3 years show the most information about the web-based event management and digital transformation.
Ah, I see. So basically, the 3 years is the most significant. Okay. Thank you so much for the answer. So I think we can conclude the Q&A session and also your presentation, Miss Ainaira. Thank you so much. So you can we can continue to the next presenter. You can give applause for this one. So the next presenter is Daniel Sebastian. With user adoption for an AI-enabled e-counseling platform in West Java, a DOI approach with privacy, security, trust mediation. Do you want to present by yourself, or do you want the presentation from our technical side? Uh, Pardon me, would you like to repeat? Sorry, I cannot hear you. Your voice is not really clear. By yourself? Yeah, okay. So you can share your screen. Okay, you can start your presentation and the room is yours. Your voice is not really clear, sir. Would you like to have adjustment with the microphone, for example?
Okay. Good afternoon, respected session chair and reviewer and fellow participant. My name is Daniel Sebastian Saragi. Today, I am to present our paper titled User Adoption of AI-enabled counseling platform in West Java, DUI approach with privacy security trust mediation. Uh, okay, let me start the content list. Here's the roadmap of my presentation. I will start with the research background and then explain the theoretical framework and methodology, present the result and discussion, uh, and finally close with the conclusion and future research direction. Okay, let me start with the research background. And AI-enabled a counseling platform have to potential to expand access to mental health support in Indonesia. This platform may include features such as NLP-based interaction, sentiment analysis, automate support, and referral recommendation. However, the availability of technology does not automatically guarantee adoption. In context of mental health counseling, uh, user deal with highly sensitive personal and psychological information. Therefore, their decision to use AI-enabled counseling platform is strongly influenced by trust. The study focus to important trust-related factor, data privacy, and system security. The main question of this research is how this factor user perspective of AI-enabled counseling as an innovation, particularly through the DUI attribute. Uh, the theoretical background to explain this issue, this study use DUI theory. We selected DUI because this research focused on how user how evaluate a new digital mental health service before fully adopting it. Adopting uh, DOI explained through 5 innovation attribute: relative advantage, compatibility, complexity, reliability, observability. These attributes are relevant because user need to evaluate whether AI-enabled counseling is useful, compatible with their need, easy to understand, possible to try, and has visible benefit. However, DOI alone is not enough in the context AI-based mental health service, since the platform process sensitive counseling related that related. However, DOI alone is not enough in the context of AI-based mental health service, since this platform process sensitive counseling related data. User also consider whether their data private and whether the system is secure. Therefore, uh, the study integrate data privacy and security as privacy security trust factor. Okay, this model hypothesis, and uh, this slide show the uh, proposed message model. The model combine DOI attribute privacy security trust factor to expand user adoption. AI-enabled counseling. The DOI include advantage compatibility, complexity, reliability, and observability. Meanwhile, the trust relate factor data privacy and system security. In total, study uh, formulate 9 hypotheses to test how these construct are related in the context AI-enabled counseling adoption. Now, I will explain the research methodology. The study is a use quantitative cross-sectional approach. The research process of 5 steps. The first, we identify the adoption challenge of AI-enabled counseling and define the research objective. The second, we develop the research model hypothesis based on DOI and privacy security trust factor. Third, we design an online questionnaire using reflective indicator for each contract. Therefore, we collect data from Invest Java. In total, study obtained 67 valid response consisting of 33 male and 34 female respondents. Finally, the data were analyzed using Smart PLS4. With the PLS approach, the analysis was conducted in 2 stages: instrument model testing to assess validity and reliability, and structural model testing using bootstrapping to evaluate hypothesis. And this research and discussion. Before interpreting structural relationship, we first evaluate the instrument model, and the results the all construct recommended validity and reliability criteria. The auto loading value range from 0 789 to 9 point 1971, which are above 0.70. The result, the API value range from point 1743 to point 1827, indicating good convergent validity. In addition, crossbar alpha value range for 904 and point 933, and composite reliability value range from 1933 to 1950. This research shows internal consistent. Therefore, the instrument model can be considered valid and reliable, allowing to process structural model analysis. This inner model, the structural model research show several important findings. The first, the model explained 78.1% the variance of solvability, which is indicate a substantial explanatory power. It's also explained 67.5% of the variance in triviality. and which is considered moderate. Meanwhile, relative context and complexity have lower R value ranging for 343 to 387. For the hypothesis testing for patch are statistically significant. Data privacy significantly influence observability with a coefficient of uh, 6,337 39 and p-value less than point zero 0.01. Data privacy also significantly influence traceability with a coefficient point 6,319 and 16 and p-value point zero, zero 0.01. In addition, data privacy significantly uh, influence relative advantage with coefficient point 488 and p-value point 28 and system security significantly influence complexity with a coefficient of 497 and p-value point 29. The key finding is that data privacy is strong trust-related factor in shaping a user perception. In it affect how users see the platform, benefit, how willing they are to try it, and how visible outcome are. Meanwhile, system security affect perceived complexity, which means security features should be implemented in a way uh, that is simple and user friendly.
Okay, your time is up. Okay, I think we will start with the Q&A session for Mr. Daniel. So, would you like to share about your challenges in this research? Hello, can you hear me?
So,
Okay, yeah. So please, you can go ahead with your answer.
I'm sorry, sir. Can you repeat?
Okay, would you like to share the challenges in the research? What are the primary challenge in the research?
This one, sir.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead. You can explain. So you want to say that the theoretical uh, background until the hypothesis is the most challenging? Okay, so I think we can continue with the second question. So for participants and uh, attendance here, attendee here, please raise your hand if you have any questions. Okay, Miss. Okay, Stefanus Desano, you can give a question.
Okay, thank you, moderator, for the opportunity. I'm Stefanus Desano Pramatana from Telkom University. Mr. Daniel, I have question about because you mentioned your sample focus on Gen Z and millennials. The question is why narrow it down to those two generations rather than all age groups? That's all for my question. Thank you.
Okay, I can the answer the question. Uh, there are two main reasons. First, Gen Z and millennial are the group that use the internet the most. They are also the group most study this type of research. common definition, millennial are people born
I think your voice is missing, Mr. Daniel. Or are you done with the answer? Mr. Daniel, are you still in the room or are you disconnected? Please respond if you are still in the room. Okay, I think we have Mr. Daniel disconnected. Okay, we will wait for several seconds. Okay, we will wait for a minute for him to reconnect. And then the next question will be Mizon Rura, because already raised the hand.
matter last question. Gen Z people between 1997 and 2012, second this two group are also most likely to try new AI consent platform first. If we include our people, do we might just be sharing their control difficult with technology, not their actual feeling, but privacy and security, which was our main focus. We mention discuss limitation growth. We have a lot less agency and think differently from each other because we take them as one in study. That is something we want to study. For example, maybe Gen kind of as well system security and being down the most that they grow up with the different from the privacy.
Okay, I think that's the answer from Mr. Daniel. So we still have 30 seconds if you want to continue to explain something. If you are done, maybe we can conclude because it's only 30 seconds.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Okay, I think we can conclude the Q&A session for Mr. Daniel. Okay, thank you so much for extensive presentation and Q&A session. Okay, we will go to the next presenter. So the next presenter is Prakash Upadhyay with agentic AI for data quality, probabilistic pivot for data quality management. Do you want to present by your own, or do you want us to present the presentation?
I'll take the opportunity to present.
Sorry, would you like to repeat?
I'll present.
Okay, you want to present, so you can share your screen. Okay, you can start now.
Thanks for having me on this presentation, on this conference. Today I'll be speaking on agentic AI for data quality, specializing in probabilistic pivot for data quality management. Myself, Prakash Upadhyay, specializing in cloud native technologies and enterprise AI, with a co-author Mahendra Rajved, Nitin Kumar Lavanya, Samit Dar, and Derek Palak. As we move along the presentations, I'll be speaking about the problems which the enterprise is facing related to the growing data and to manage them. Some of the methods that this paper talks about to solve those problems, and then some of the theoretical implementations on some of the domain verticals, as well as some of the limitations that this paper has still to work on to it. That discussion will be doing it, and then I'll making the conclusion remark. Introducing the crisis the data quality is facing today. Around about 12.9 million dollars on an average decent firm loses annually due to the poor data-driven decisions, and some of them alone in US, it's around about 3.1 trillion US dollars due to the poor data-driven decisions. The second biggest problem that I see, or what we observed, was the data breach. Roundabout, and a decent firm loses 4.45 million US dollars due to the data breach. And third biggest problem, we see around about 50 to 80% of the data analytics time spent on data prep cleaning rather than doing the real work of analysis. Why this is all happening is because there is an exponential data growth because of web, mobile, AI, and other things. Year after year, 20% incremental is there uh, of the data that is getting generated. And the data that was getting generated in the past is way different from what is getting generated today due to the schema evolution and the drift, which makes our existing system soiled, and the pipeline that used to work seems to be broken and seems to look obsolete. On top of this, the manual rule maintenance burden increasing because of the complexity, as well as the cost to manage and maintain them is also increasing. On top of this, these days systems works in silos with no cross-source validations, adding to the problem and the cost. So what the gaps we feels? There could be numerous things, but this paper looks on some of them. Like to start with, traditional and rule-based validation systems have constituted the dominant paradigm for the data quality management in the enterprise environment for several decades. But with the growing needs, this is causing problems. AI has come as a rescue, but integrating the machine learning techniques into a data quality management has been subjected to discussion, especially with the explainability, audibility, and traceability factors. Again, these AI systems are again working in silos with no systematic synthesized of all three patterns that includes reflection, tool use, and multi-agent collaboration into an integrated validation framework. And this paper makes an attempt to do that. How do we do is we two-tier architecture. One is with record level validations, another with the source level monitorings. In record level validation, data gets injected from various sources. Data is provided as scores through tool use patterns. Reflection validates across the domain specific models. If needed, memory is updated and then it's persisted for multi-agent to kick in and use it for various use cases. The source level validations helps to optimize the resources by monitoring of bad data coming into the systems and keeping a track record of 24 hours limit so that we can flag the bad data. We'll talk in details in the flowchart where record level validations and the source level monitoring works in parallel. In phase one, the data gets injected. In phase two, multi-tool quality provides the assessment to the data with a proper value to it. If the value and the data hits the cache, which was there, means basically if it was previously coming with a similar data format and score, it directly goes to the persistent layer for future use case for multi-use agent, skipping 3 and 4, thus optimizing the efficiency of the system. If the cache hit is missed, it goes to the reflection pattern, where it is compared against the existing domain models. The discrepancy is greater than threshold, the model is updated, and accordingly it's looped back. The reflection pattern kicks in. If once passes, it goes through the confidence limit. Okay, every enterprise might have its own confidence level of clean data, what that clean data means. If it matches, then it goes to the person memory to update it, and then to the persistent layer for multi-agent to kick in. If not, human reviews it. If approves it, it goes back and the rules are updated. If not, the rejected pattern is updated. Rejected memory is updated, and the 24-hour system kicks in, where we monitor the source as well as the timestamp when it was injected. If within the 24-hour time windows that particular source hits the threshold, then that particular source is flagged and the human reviews it, either reinstates or completely blocks for the future injection, thus optimizing the pipeline for future use cases. In this way, both the system works in parallel to optimize the resource and efficiency. So this framework provides the needed design pattern, working as a unified pipeline for data quality validations like reflection, tool use, and multi-agent collaboration works in parallel. The memory fast path routing mechanism introduced in phase 2 increases the computational efficiency layer. The rejection memory is stored and the bidirectional feedback introduced in phase 2 increases the operational of the pipelines. And human in loop escalation path helps to resolve any deadlock that is there. So results that's theoretical. There are some we did try to implement in certain verticals with insurance client data domain and the EDU tech learning and platforms. In insurance, for the client data management, data come from manual entry, legacy system, third party, or a downstream propagations. Can in the all these data can get injected. Multi-tool assessments. There are in the market there are available models which provides the value to it. Like for accuracy, anomaly can be used. For timeliness, data grid can be used. For consistency, numeric AI can be used. And accordingly, the scores provided it that scores back goes into the reflection across pattern. In this case, since it is insurance, actuarial reference model is available for insurance domains, which compares against the discrepancies. And if needed, because of the new data generated, it refines itself. If need based, the memory gets updated. And finally, the clean data is available for multi-agents like underwriting, pricing, claims, or new business can start using them. What we do here is that continuous validation happens for the field, completeness, reconciliations, and timeliness, and reflective detection outcomes provides the novel fraud and corruption, improves underwriting and leakage auditability. For time's sake, I'll just leave the EDU tech learning for now. I'll go to the what this model provides as a present to future. From legacy silo, it becomes agentic AI platform. For logical basis, from deterministic, it becomes probabilistic. For adaptability, it becomes static to dynamic. For detection scope, from reactive to proactive. And for operational coverage, it becomes isolated to unified. Basically, we can start using for the cross-source validations as well. Discussions. Every framework has certain limitations. I do agree that this is the start of that journey, and in this case also there is limitations of providing the explainability factors to it. Regulated audit demands traceable rationale for every decision. Rule-based system provides its inherently. Explainability agent AI still remains unsolved, but with the maturity of the framework, this particular needs can be answered. Second problem, I see that adaptability memory risk drift towards the wrong reflection reference distributions. Phase 4 confidence gate helps partially, but mitigating the needs an ongoing ground truth monitoring so that it does not go into a wrong reference distributions. Human in loop, agentic AI arguments autonomously within the confidence limit, escalating beyond them. Human oversight ensures accountability, catches systematic error, and satisfies regulatory needs. But as we move towards the more autonomous, human in loop should be reduced. Limitation and future research and directions. Lacking empirical validations, future work needs proof of concept testing, standardization of the benchmark, explainability mechanism, and extensions of privacy preserving context, which this framework still has to work on it. Concluding statement that we might to make is that in that it becomes an agentic AI enables the proactive data governance, the hybrid adoption and balances audibility with intelligence, and reflection and memory strengthens the validity of the accuracy. What we are still working on is empirical testing must confirm the theoretical advantage, and the real deployment will refine the frameworks. So these are things still being worked upon, but this is what I had, and I conclude my presentation with this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for so insightful presentation, Mr. Prakash. So we are now in the Q&A session. So for any participant who want to give a question, please raise your hand. Okay, I will start with the first question. So would you like to explain the future works that could be the real world deployment? What is the most near possible, the most possible one for now that could be the future work in the real world deployment?
So the real world deployment we were talking about means I am coming from the enterprise industry itself. The ingestion of the data quality and the quality and the models that we want to use, it's called each domain on which you are working onto it, that needs to be finalized. Say you are in insurance domain, you have to pick up certain models within the AI ecosystem because there are thousands of models that are available, which makes the suits best, which addresses the best. Once we select that models, that implementation needs to be done, and then you have to come up with the numbers of the threshold. What is the acceptable limit for your industry or your company, or what you feel as a clean data? Those numbers has to be well generated. Then that model needs to be applied onto it, and that groundwork and that framework is still need to be worked upon to provide this answers. Because for us, it is that okay, you have some kind of a measurement can be done, but that what is that measurement, it's not yet defined. So that is needs to be worked upon per industry.
I see. So basically, we still still so possible to do, but it depends on the industry, right? Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you so much for the answer. For participant, if you have any question, please raise your hand. Okay, we have a question from Ruktin. Okay, please open your mic and you can give the question.
Okay, thank you, moderator, for the time. I want to ask a little. What would be the most appropriate indicator to measure the success of the agentic AI framework in real world implementation, validation accuracy, time efficiency, auditability, or business impact? Thank you.
Thanks for the question. This totally depends upon how you define your data quality strategies. This basically depending upon the security level and the assessment that particular data management team does it. They needed to define that scale. That is what I said in the first answer also. Sometimes it could be a factor of 7, it's all good. Factor of 9, sometimes it is good. Like in case of our insurance industries, certain kinds of a financial data, we need to have a very accurate data, and we cannot miss the dollar values by even pennies. So it becomes very important for us at that level. At accuracy level could go up 99.99% of accuracy of the data that we are getting it. And similarly, that could be for e-learning, that a dollar value might not matter much, but the profile of the users, so that they do not they provide a proper use case, and they becomes a proper exams are monitored, and ranking has been done properly, and they have been graded properly matters. For them, the financial matrix does not matter much. So depending upon the which industries and which verticals this particular model gets injected, those numbers needs to be defined by the data strategy team. And that is what this model provides, the flexibility to do that.
Okay, thank you so much for the answer. Do you have further question, maybe, Ms. Ruktin?
I think enough, but this is interest for the future research. It's very large scale, yeah. So many area can do for this research. Thank you. Success for Mr. Prakash.
Yeah, it's the start of the journey. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Ruktin, for the question. So, do we still have any other question from another participant? Okay, I guess we will conclude the Q&A session. Thank you so much, Mr. Prakash, for the presentation and the wonderful Q&A session. That's so inspiring. Okay, we will have the next presenter. So the next presenter is Mr. Muhammad Aris Ganiati with comparative evaluation of imbalance aware machine learning models for at-risk student detection in vocational education. Would you like to share your own screen, or do you want us to share the screen?
Yes, okay. Thanks, moderator.
Okay, do you want to share by your own
Okay.
or not? Okay, so you will share your screen.
Okay, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, respected moderator and participant IKDS 2026 Telkom University. Thank you very much for the time and opportunity Today I will present about our paper entitled Comparative Evaluation of Imbalance Where Machine Learning Model at Risk Student Detection and Vocational Education. Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Muhammad Haris Ganardi, and I have two co-authors, Emma Tita and Abiansa. We form Universitas Sriwijaya Palembang. Okay, in our presentation, we divide five part: introduction, method, result, discussion, and conclusion. First, I want to introduce background, problem statement, and research objective. And next, I will describe about research methodology we use in our research. And third, result and about our result experiment step, and the last conclusion. Okay, this is introduction. I begin with background. Indonesia has two main Indonesia has two main education, vocational education and academic education. Vocational education in higher education institution differ from academic education, emphasizing the development of vertical skill aligned with industry need, result of more comprehensive assessment of student performance than enquiry examination, attendance, behavior, and practical competence. University offer both education, vocational, and vocational academic education and vocational education. But Polytechnic only organize one education, vocational education. In the world, vocational academic performance data set often examination significant class in where the number of the students category in suitability lower than of non-other student, verification and validation category. Conventional classification model prioritize overall accuracy and often look student class. Constantly, a rich student may remain undetected. Despite of the false negative can have significant academic and social consequences in vocational education. To mitigate bias in balanced data set, implementing imbalance aware strategy crucial. One widely recognized data level effort in literature is the SMOOTI. Okay, this is our problem research. Our problem research is detecting risk student in vocational education is changing because academic performance data set are characterized by extreme class imbalance. So this is the objective research. The study evaluate the effectiveness of imbalance aware machine learning model with the context of vocational education, where the minority data set professional is extremely small. Method. Our research methodology consists 6 steps: data preparation, data processing, repeated stratified fault classification, handling class imbalance, implementation of classification data algorithm, and performance evaluation. Data preparation consists to collect data from vocational student for Polytechnic Negeri Sriwijaya. The collect from SISAK is system academic on Polytechnic Negeri Sriwijaya. We get dataset consists 749 first year vocational students from Polytechnic Sriwijaya. That the dataset we get, we enter the data processing through data cleaning, filter encoding, and saturation to improve data quality and ensure compatibility with machine learning algorithm. Repeat stratified fault cross validation with 10 repetition was employed to obtain reliable and statistical robustness performance estimate under extreme class imbalance. We use mode within its train fault to generate synthetic minority sample. reducing class imbalance, and enhancing average student detection. We use five machine learning algorithm to evaluate average student. K-nearest neighbor, random forest, sport vector machine, logistic regression, and naive Bayes. And the last step, we evaluation performance. We use four indicator: accuracy, precision, recall, and macro effort score. With recall varieties, do it's important to identifying at risk student. This is our uh, result. The result data distribution. We can see in the diagram 5, there are three category in our data set with destination with fair stratification and stratification. Stratification is student at risk, and the number rich student account 0.58% population in data. The dataset exhibit extreme class imbalance, making at-risk student detection highly challenging. Okay, we use KNN, K-Nearest Neighbor Agreement is a baseline. We conduct the algorithm implementing and we thought implementing Smoothie. And based on the table, we can see KKN we thought Smoothie accuracy 86.58% and recall at risk 0%. When we integrate in KNN algorithm with Smoothie, accuracy decrease 82.98%, but recall increase 25%. In this, we can conclude Smoothie successful can enable KNN to detect a risk student. And we try comparison of all machine learning model, random forest, naive Bayes, support vector machine, logistic regression, and K-nearest neighbor. And the result, we get logistic regression has achieved a high accuracy, 19.27%, and recall at risk 20%. KNN algorithm has accuracy 82.98%, but KNN has recall the highest 55% beside another algorithm. In high accuracy doesn't necessarily imply effective student detection. Okay, this is my conclusion. Extreme class imbalance significantly reduce the ability of conventional machine learning model to detect a risk student. Smoothie effectively involve minority class detection by generating static sample for the underrepresented class. Although logistic regression achieve higher accuracy, but can with Smoothie obtain the highest recall at the risk student, making it most suitable model for vocational education early warning system. For highly imbalanced education data set, recall is a more meaningful evaluation metric than overall accuracy. And future research will investigate adaptive oversampling technique and explainable AI method to improve both detection accuracy and interpretability at the student prediction model. Okay, this is the end of my presentation. The next session, question and discussion. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much for the insightful presentation, Mr. Muhammad Aris. So we are now in the Q&A session. So
Yeah.
for any participant who wants to give a question, please raise your hand. Okay, I will start with the first question. So, you mentioned that the dataset comes from the 749 vocational students from Polytechnic Negeri Sriwijaya, right?
Yeah.
And then,
Okay.
would you like to explain about the majors, combination, and so on? Maybe the demography.
Can you repeat, sir?
Okay, would you like to explain the demography of the students? Maybe at least the major.
The dataset I collect from the management information department, and I get from first three student semester 1 and semester 2 in the department.
Okay, so it's only the whole university with only the first and second semester only.
1 year, sir.
First year.
1 year. Yeah, first year,
Okay.
semester 2 and semester 1 and semester 2. Because I get to the dataset because the student still adapted in the campus. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for the explanation. And then we have the second question from Mr. Prakash. You can open your mic and give the question.
Thanks for providing the opportunity. I just one question. What was the sample size that uh, from which you derived these results? Because if it is just 1 year of data, is it good enough, or do you think that more data is needed?
Can you repeat, sir?
So just I'm saying, what is the
Maybe
size
it was so.
volume of the data? Means how many? What was the volume of the data that you were using? Say, 1,000 students, 10,000 students, 100,000 students to create that KNN factors, and with your model predicting the improvement of that model. Correct? The numbers that you have showed that how it has improved behind the scene, you might have taken a data set to do those modeling. Correct?
Okay. 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 Ini.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so to recap, Mr. Prakash asked about the data size, yeah, basically, and then how to improve
Yes.
it. Okay, so yeah, Mr. Muhammad Aris, you can answer for that.
But data size. Okay, I just I take just collect one department in Polytechnic Negeri Sriwijaya has to 11 department, but I just get one department because I use what? Traditional algorithms like KNN and KNN, logistic regression, and Forest and Bayes.
Okay.
I see.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the second question, Mr. Prakash, and thank you for the answer for Mr. Muhammad Aris. So for the next question, if you have another question, you can raise your hand. Okay, I will ask the last question. So, would you like to explain about the adaptive oversampling and explainable AI that could be for the future works?
Okay, adaptive oversampling itu is my next research because this is a part of the research as baseline. Now I research about explain I research explainable AI. I use a whole data polytechnic. In my research, I try to interpret about a factor influence the performance academic performance student.
Okay, so basically it will be your next research, yeah,
Yes,
about.
yeah, okay.
Okay, thank you so much for the insightful presentation and the Q&A session, Mr. Muhammad Aris. So I think we can conclude our session. So we have four presenters with mostly about the data and the AI. So thank you so much for the very insightful presentation and Q&A session. Before we leave the room, we will have a photo session. So please open your camera and we will take a photo for this session. Miss Ainaira, you can open your camera uh, if it is visible. Oh, Mr. Daniel Sebastian, you can also open the camera. Okay, Miss Ainaira, are you still there? Belajar. Okay, I think we will start to take the photo. Okay, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, once more. 1, 2, and 3. Okay, thank you so much for every participants for this session. Thank you so much for so insightful Q&A and the presentation. So you can leave the room and see you in another session. Bye.
So will we get this video recording back to us through email?
Okay, about the video recording, I think that will be another further information from the committee.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. You
Thank
can
you,
leave
sir.
the room. See you.